Right.
Ooh, okay.
You ready? Everybody good? Everybody awake? We need to get up and do jumping jacks?
No, we're not awake. We're not awake.
Well, I'm gonna encourage y'all.
Okay. We've got a lot of stuff we've got to cover today. We're trying to make up 3 days worth of classes into one. So we're going to start with CERT organization. These are on Blackboard, you said, right? Okay, so I'm going to be going kind of fast through this today. If y'all want, y'all can go back on the Blackboard and review it before you take your test, but I'm going to just kind of breeze through this really quickly so that we can get everything that we need to get done today put in. All right, so today we're going to start talking about CERT organization. We're going to describe the structures of the CERT organization process, identify how CERT relates and interacts with the incident command system, which all y'all took the ICS FEMA stuff, correct? Okay. And we're going to explain the documentation that is required for the incident command service. The unit topics, once again, the CERT organization, the mobilization, and the documentation that is all required with the organizational process. A couple principles of the on-scene management. We're going to talk about maintaining the safety of disaster workers. You want to make sure that you work up to the ability and the resources that you have with your team. You want to, we've talked about how the CERT team member is there, your safety is your number one priority throughout the entire thing, but sometimes you do need to look over everybody else and make sure your other teammates and the other members are being safe as well. You want to provide clear leadership and organizational structure. Some people are going to step up and be leaders. Some people have to step back and be followers. But what you want to do is set a clear chain of command. You don't want too many chiefs trying to run everything. You want to set a good chain of command on how everything is going to be laid out and how you're going to run everything. And doing all this will help improve the effectiveness of your rescue efforts. Your CERT on-scene management, you want a well-defined management structure. Once again, going back to the chain of command, having good set out who's in charge of what. Make sure it's good structure over that. Manageable span of control. You don't want to take on too many roles. You don't want to be having to do things that are, you don't want to overburden yourself with too many duties. That's why you want to make sure you have certain people set up for certain things. You don't want to take on everything yourself. Use common terminology. Plain talk with people. Don't use jargon for things. I know some of us have been trained. There's some people that are EMTs and firefighters that are in the classes. Don't use your jargon. Like if I was helping out, I'm not going to use police talk to normal people. Use plain, regular, everyday talk. Don't try and get fancy with what you're saying. Effective communication, that kind of goes back with using plain talk. You want good communication. Always communicate with your team members on what's going on, where you're at. Know where your team members are by communication with them. If you have the luxury of having like walkie-talkies or radios to communicate with your teams, that's a good thing to have if you have the resources are available to have that. Consolidate action plans. You want to make your plans. You want to make sure you know what your plans are. We've talked about, throughout this entire course, we've talked about making plans and doing your plans. Make sure your plans aren't super complicated. Make sure it's plans that everyone in your group can do. You don't want to make too many intricate moves in your plan and getting people confused. Make sure your plan is able for everybody in your group to be able to do. Comprehensive resource management. You want to make sure you manage what you have. If you have 50 bottles of water, you don't want to be wasting your water. You want to manage the resources that you have. And accountability. Just keep everybody accountable of what they're doing. Make sure everybody's staying safe. Make sure everybody's still pulling their weight. Just keep everybody accountable for everything going on. Objectives of the on-scene management. Identify the scope of the incident. You want to determine the overall strategy that you want to use and responding to the incident. Deploy your resources, which is like deploy your teams. If you're going to have search teams, if you're going to have triage teams, deploy your teams. And then once again, document all actions and results. You want to keep a record of everything you do. We've talked about documenting a lot throughout this in the search and rescue and the triage. Just document every little thing you do pretty much. We'll talk more about the documentation later when we show some of the actual forms that CERT wants you to use. All right, when you set up your chain of command, you want to have it look like this. You have your incident commander, the person that's going to be over the entire thing. They're going to be in charge. That's your bigwig, that's your boss. And then you're going to set up these 4 other branches. Your operations chief, your logistics chief, your planning chief, and your financial administration chief. We talked about this a little bit during the very first day. We're going to go a little bit more into depth today as we go over. Make sure I'm still on track here. All right, we talked about operations management. They're going to direct and coordinate all the tactical operations. And they're going to assign the functions of the CERT team to do. Your planning section, they're going to track all your resources, track situational statuses, prepare the team's action plans. They're going to be the ones that put the plans together. Obviously, it's the planning section. Develop alternate strategies. You know, sometimes certain plans don't work. You need backup plans in place. And the planning, whoever's over the planning chief is going to need to be able to have extra plans, backup plans in place. Logistics, once again, they're going to provide communications, if possible, you know, walkie-talkies, radios, ways to communicate with each other. They're going to provide food and medical support to the team members. You want to be able to, you know, feed your team. You don't want people getting out there and getting hungry. I know, like, when I'm hungry, I get angry, and my brain starts falling away. And you don't want your team members getting like that. You want to make sure everybody's kind of staying nourished, hydrated. The logistics is going to keep up with that. And they're also going to manage the supplies and the facilities that you're using. And once again, the finance administration, they're going to keep track of timekeeping. You know, we talked about how the county itself will get paid for your hours that you're using. So they're going to keep track of who's working, how many hours they're working, pretty much the cost of everything that's been donated, or your time, resources, anything like that. They're going to keep track of all stuff like that to turn in so that the county can get that disaster relief money. CERT operations. We're going to have a command structure. Once again, previous things would be your command structure. You have how you have it laid out. You're going to have an incident command team leader. Every little team, if you're a rescue team, if you're a triage team, everybody needs to have designated leaders. Once again, it goes back to you don't want to have too many chiefs in here. You want to have the leaders and you want to have the followers. Set that chain of command. The command post. You set up your command post. This is where you're going to have everything pretty much stationed at. And expand the structures as needed. If you need to make your teams bigger, do so accordingly. Plan out how you're going to make your teams bigger in the most effective ways. Dealing with the media. We show up on a situation, an incident that has occurred. Media is going to be there. Half the time, media is going to be there before rescue is there. They want that scoop. If you're not the team lead, if you're not the incident command, and media comes up to you, good rule of thumb is don't talk to them. Don't talk to the media. Go send them to whoever your incident command, your team leaders are. They're going to know more information about what's actually going on than probably you do. You don't want to give out statements that are just from what you think is going on, because they're going to report it and they're going to say, well, they got this from the CERT team, but that might not be what's going on. So just be careful about what you tell the media. They're tricky about the way they get you to word things. So that's why you want to send them to the command center and to the team leaders. The NIMS compliance. All of y'all have taken the FEMA required stuff. We talked about that earlier. This is just kind of reminding for people that haven't taken it yet. Once again, CERTs need to take care of themselves, their families, their homes, and their neighbors. Once again, yourself is number one. And the whole purpose of this is so that you can help out your community, your families, your neighborhoods, everything that you live around is what the CERT is designed to help. Proceed to pre-designed staging areas. If you have a team that works together and plans together, more than likely you're going to have set up pre-designated areas where y'all are going to get together and y'all are going to plan out the incident command, where y'all are going to plan out who's team leads, who's going to be search team, things like that. Once you've made sure everybody, your family is safe, you're good, go to your designated staging area. At this point, you're going to set up your incident command and your team leads, and you're going to prioritize your actions. What needs to be done first? What's the most important steps to be taken to help the greater good? And the organization is flexible and evolves based on new information. Pretty much as you gain information about what has happened and who you have to help, you can change your plans and your strategies based on what you know. Is the situation gotten worse? Do we need to change it this way? Is the situation getting better? Do we need to change it to this other way? Rescuer safety. Once again, we've talked about this a million times. Your safety is the number one priority. If you see a building heavily damaged, don't do the rescue. Once again, you're not going to set up a triage center in a heavily damaged area. If it's moderate damage, we've talked about it, if the structure of the building is still sound, then you can set up a triage. But moderately damaged, if it's looking like there could be a possibility of further damage, like the building collapsing in or something, don't triage there. Evacuate the building if possible, but don't triage and stuff like that. Light damaged buildings, once again, we've talked about. You can find those in your community once the disasters happen. That way you can set up triage and continue a size up and documentation processes there. Section chiefs. They are going to provide the command post with information. They're going to keep track of everybody, where they're at, and keep them constantly updated on what's going on, what's the new statuses, and things like that. Your command post, documents situation status, incident locations. You need to know where everybody's at, what's happened, what's been damaged. Keep track of that. Access routes. Know what roads are blocked due to trees down or flooded. Keep track of all the access routes in and out of your command center and your community. Identify hazards. If you know that there's certain areas of the community, the town, here on campus, certain buildings that have hazardous materials or are more prone to have hazards, safety hazards in them, know that and communicate that with your teams. Support locations. Know where the triage centers are. Know where all the other places that you have set up to help people are. That way you can direct victims and you can direct your teams to go there and assist with further assistance. Once again, write it down. Documentation. We've talked about documenting everything you do. When you go into a building, you document what you found in a building. How many people you found in a building? Are they injured? You document everything. Documentation saves your butt, pretty much. Yeah. When you're documenting, you want to damage assess. Write down how badly damaged the building is, what the damage to the area is. If it's a tornado, you're going to as soon as you get on the scene, how bad is the damage that you see instantly? Write it down. Personal resources sign in. So when you come in and you set up that incident command center, you're going to sign in. If you're the person taking down, all the people that are coming in and out, make sure you have everybody sign in. Incident tracking assessment. You're going to keep a log of everything that comes in and out. The people that are coming in, resources that are coming in. Keep a track of everything that's coming in and out. briefing assignment. Brief everybody that comes in. Not everybody's going to come in to help all at once. So as people come in and out to assist and help, give them constant briefing, update them. What's going on? This is the situation at hand. Constantly brief people on what's going on. Victim treatment area record. Constantly be going to the triage areas, documenting everything that's going on. Everybody, how many people are in there injured? What's the statuses of people? How many people have died? Keep track of every detail you can think about when you're dealing with the victims. Document it all down. Communication logs. Keep track of every time somebody's called in to tell you about something. Say you're on a team, you're out, clearing buildings. They call after every time they went through a building. Write down, okay, such and such person called at 5:15 a.m. Cleared this building, this many people. Like, document pretty much everything, the time and everything they've told you. Keep that communication log written. Equipment inventory. A lot of people are going to come and donate things, like they're going to donate shovels and backhoes and all kinds of equipment. Keep an inventory of that, and also make sure you write down, is this a donation, or are they going to be expecting to get paid back for this? And just general messages, just anything that you feel needs to be documented, document it, write it down. Like we said, documentation covers you. So anything you feel needs to be documented, document it. All right, this is kind of how the workflow goes for the command center. You got your command post, the incident, it's got the incident assignment, the tracking logs. The arriving CERT volunteers, they've got their damage assessments and the staging logistics. You see how the chart kind of flows here. Everything comes back to here. Everything comes back to the command post. Everything, your damage assessments, your personal resources, everything that you write down, your logs, your communications, your inventories, everything is brought back to the command post so that your command, your ICS, and your team leads can keep track of everything going on. All right, so a quick unit summary of all this. ICS provides a flexible means of organization. Is it safe to attempt for the rescuers? Once again, documentation. Document everything that you can think of. Provide a command post with an ongoing information about the damage. The ICS, the big key of organization is making sure that you have a structure to it. You don't want to just start documenting things and not knowing who you're turning them into. You don't want to not document things and think that you're okay with knowing it in your brain. You want to document everything, set up a command post, set up that good chain of command so that everybody in your group knows what's going on, who does what, and who's in charge pretty much. All right, there's not going to be homework since we're going to go straight into the next section. I told y'all I was going to rush through this really fast since we're trying to gain all these.
Can we assume that would the team leader here would always be somebody from your department, since we always have someone on every campus?
The team leads are going to be set up when the incident happens. The first people that get together,
I guess what I mean is, can we assume that one of you all will step up and do that?
No.
No?
They may not be,
They may not be
something may have
around.
taken all the time.
we may not be there. We may be having to deal with
bigger things.
bigger issues.
Okay.
You get what I'm
The
saying?
first person on the scene is the
Yeah.
one that takes command.
And then the people who might want reimbursement for whatever they're bringing back, you let them go ahead and work anyway, or send them away?
Take what you got, but if you've already got other resources that are being brought in, like say somebody's donating water, and then somebody else comes to bring water but says they want reimbursed for it,
Then
if you've got enough water,
send them
keep
on
the
their
free
for the
stuff
time
and say,
to let them go.
come back at a later time.
Or you can donate for free.
Or you can just tell them, hey, this is for donations.
You
We
can
can't
do
pay.
this for free.
Yeah. I know, seriously.
Well, the structure is that Pat Palmer essentially is the person, obviously she's retiring, whoever takes her
Right.
place would be that person. But is the person who
Could approve that or not.
coordinates all that sort of thing. So when you're thinking, like, when an incident first happened, people aren't gonna start instantly bringing us water. Like, when we're the first on the scene, that's probably gonna be short term. So a lot of the things he's talking about is probably for more of a long-term type of thing, where if you're the first one there over at South, because you're at South kind of by yourself, you're not going to be worried about water. You'll probably be worried about whatever's going on right at that minute. You know what I'm saying? With water donations and some of that type of stuff, where people, start coming in wanting money for things. More, further
Later
down
on.
the road, probably. And you would probably have help before
Reinforcement.
that stuff started happening.
Reinforcements are
You
out.
know?
Yeah.
In terms of plastic tech,
Well, what do you think? Y'all coming to the end of it, what do you think? It's gonna be worth it or what?
We're gonna be awesome.
You think?
Yeah. I know.
Oh, I hope we never have to use any of it.
Yeah, hope for the best.
I got faith in you.
We don't
Yeah.